welcome to another great show on our podcast. Where there's a will, there's a way. And remember, we're focusing on how to create the ideal life for every employee in your company. So we have today the integrator of a company that's been running on EOS and is making a great contribution to communication for all sorts of companies. This is the integrator for that company. He's got a lot of responsibilities. This is Derek Gerber. So welcome, Derek.
How you doing, Will? Thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Well, I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Tell us what Explainify does.
Right. The brands that you know and love trust Explainify to bring their stories to life through short form explainer videos. So when clients are looking to generate more leads, build educational video series and libraries for self-guided content, or just try to get the word out there to build better brand awareness and legitimacy, they trust our brands to bring those to life through premium explainer videos on their site, on mobile devices, and paid advertising and other forms of communication.
Well, all right. So, what I'm discovering that there's a lot of folks, especially in networking groups where we're getting back into talking with each other, getting out of our COVID protection uh, spheres, and what I'm finding is that there are a lot of people who somehow have escaped to the pre-COVID world, and they're sort of anticipating that they can go back. I mean, I heard a conversation today with some folks from all around California, and there was conversations about, well, when we tell the people that they have to come back to the office, and I mean, to me, if the Great Resignation has not taught us anything, it's taught us that you can't tell people that they have to come back to the office. That it's really the question is really, how can we help you, Mr. Employee, get done what you want to get done and help you get better and help you to thrive in this new post-COVID world. Would you agree?
I absolutely would. And I think that what has happened in the last couple of years is it's forced all of us in this little pandemic bubble of ours that we've all formulated around ourselves to have an extra hard look at ourselves and the way we communicate information across our businesses and even manage our own lives. We found out very quickly what was important to us. And, maybe we were taking 8 hours to do something else that we could have done in an hour. And for whatever the purpose is, we all found new values within business and within ourselves. And that also leads into how we communicate with one another is we all took up more mobile devices. We watched more videos. We bought more things online. Logistics supported that shopping behavior there for a while, and there was a huge demand, of course, because of all the precautions put into place. And so now it's just standardized, and it's going to be no different than our ability to live and work at home and better balance our lives with work in the process.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I've been picking up on is that video has changed dramatically. It's not the same video that we had in pre-COVID or maybe for the past couple of years. It's not a bunch of suits standing together and giving testimonials. That's not enough. People want to. I think people want to know, how do I do this? How do I get this done? Why should I be working with you? What's better? Why is your company better than another company? And they want to know it. I understand in 3 to 5 minutes, right?
The general consensus about creating videos in the past was that it was too expensive, it took too long, there were no guaranteed results, and that had a lot to do with the analytics and tracking tools available on the back end. And so, if you look at it from a technology perspective, the platforms that we digest this information very quickly in the last few years have also grown towards short form video content consumption. And I think that's extremely important for the audience to understand is that people aren't watching the videos for 15 or 20 minutes. They have a minute of your time available right there. And so for my attention span, you've got 7 seconds to make an impression. You got another 7 seconds to keep me hooked. And then maybe another 30 seconds for me to retain information or take action on something. And if you see 6,000 advertisements every single day, well, what's going to catch our eye at that point? Our bodies have
Right,
trained
right.
ourselves
right?
to look past the ads, the disingenuous information that really isn't helping to solve our problems or add any value to our lives, more just buy now. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the challenge is that when you're looking at how do I create content that matters, that's genuine, insightful, and helpful, then you really got to look at what problems are you trying to solve and how can you communicate that very quickly. So at Explainify, through our frustration-free video creation process, we uncover those things every day. But really, from a general perspective of all businesses, is that every industry is being pushed towards more digital content creation. It's faster, it's easier, and more affordable to do than it ever used to be. So if you're looking to get that attention, build that thought leadership, that authority in your industry, it's going to start with more videos. You want to build better awareness campaigns, more videos. You want to educate your clients and teach people how to self guide themselves through a Google search. How do I do this with your software application, for example? It's going to take explainer video content series. It's going to be your own library of content. And that's where the big juggernauts are always going to start playing now is like, how do I create this content that attracts more people to me and places me as a thought leader and the authority in the industry as the best solution?
Yeah, and now, it seems to me, um, 10 years ago, a lot of content, a lot of content. I mean, we got more than three broadcast channels, and so now a lot of content. But the way that people apparently thought they were going to pay for the content was through these interruptive ads. And in order to get you glued, it was like 30 to 30 minutes to an hour that you're going to spend watching, and then you're going to have to endure these ads in the midst of it. And it seems to me that what we're talking about now is not entertainment. It's not just kind of a documentary style. This is actual training. This is actually telling people how to do something, not selling them, right?
That's right. And when it comes to explaining things to make it an easy in a minute, if you're really focused on providing that genuine content that helps solve problems, then you're always going to have a very sticky audience who's going to stick around and remember you. The retentive part of this, and whether you're sitting on the couch and streaming content, which has totally changed the game for national TV advertising campaigns, because now you'll see the same thing on Hulu that you do on Netflix. And when you go to Google and the websites and your cookies that are tracking you, it all finds a way to build that personalized targeted journey for you. Now, doing that research into who you're trying to communicate with now extends into trying to share your brand's common core values with those looking to align with brands that they want to support. And so it's just as important to talk about your culture as it is your business and what you're selling, but really what problems are you trying to solve? What value are you going to bring in my very busy, very distracting life? How am I going to stop
Right.
right now and remember that your brand is the one that's going to help me turn into the hero that I need to be to solve those challenges in my life?
All right. So let me ask. Um, there are training videos that are longer than 3 minutes, and they might be 10 to 15 minutes. And now I'm wondering, is there like a 2 or 3 minute video that is an attention getter, an introduction, a wayfinder that says, if you're interested in this, here's 10 to 20 minutes that will take you deeper into it.
That is perfectly said too, because I'll tell you why. Is there is a time and a place for different pieces of content at different stages of the game. So if you are all the way down the funnel, to relate that back to some sales and marketing speak for the audience, yeah, I may be a client of yours already, and I've done my project. I'm looking to go do the next thing. Longer series of content totally has a place. What we're talking about right now, just for get me started, let me help myself, help me in an advertising campaign notice your brand and apply value very quickly. That short form content is where the most evolution is happening. So it's not necessarily replacement. It is not that at all. It's a scalability factor. It's better marketing, better sales enablement, but really better company values demonstrated all the way around. As that video that we're specifically producing is used for external needs, but then also internal educational campaigns. Here's how returning back to work is going to look like, and here's what we're doing to take care of you and the team.
Mhm.
That right there is a very common topic right now, but it's not necessarily focused on generating leads or trying to get millions of captivated viewers. It's about investing in the team who's remote, who's dealing with new hybrid, justifications throughout different work schedules, right? And so trying to balance our lives around that, communicate effectively. Everything is going to shorter form video creation. However, there is still a place for longer form content. But I got to tell you right now, even Google's working on trying to showcase short form video results upfront faster. So right now, if you search for perhaps a baking recipe, you might get a longer form 10-minute video, something like that. You will see a shrink towards, maybe 5, 10, 15-second videos as we learn to digest new information on new platforms. So if you're from a traditional sense of where you built content maybe 10 or 20 years ago, right, there is still a place for that longer form content where we can get really into the details about something or inspire the next project for somebody. But for the upfront attention, being a part of the SEO game as it is today with the changing algorithms and all the technology available, we have to adopt what platforms are doing, like YouTube Shorts, Instagram Stories. Pick a short form piece of content, TikTok. All these popular things are really focused on less than 1 minute pieces of content. And that's what's going to be continuing to be produced moving forward. There will always be a place for longer form content, but this is the supporting pieces of that pillar content that we're discussing here.
Yep, yeah, yeah. Well, all right. So you picked up on companies that are paying attention to needs of employees as they move in a post-COVID world. Uh, you've been working at with EOS has been working in your company for a while. So let's talk a little bit about this EOS Life, right? Now, just to review, the EOS Life is pretty simple. It's only doing the things that you love, which means it's your unique ability, right? It's the place that you're excited. You're get out of the way. This is what I do. I bounce out of the bed in the morning because this is what I love doing. So you're only doing what you love doing with people that you love, and that comes from you're hiring people that fit your core values. People call it culture, but they really fit the values that you have. This is why you want to come work with them in the morning. That would be the reason that people want to get back together in the office, because I really enjoy being with them. So only doing what you love with people that you love, making a great contribution, knowing how what I'm doing is making the world a better place. It's making it better for our company, making it better for our clients. It's really, it's all sorts of ways of making the world a better place, but that's what we're into. So doing what I love with people I love, making a great contribution, getting compensated appropriately. I'm getting paid for the value that I'm giving, not because I'm occupying a seat. And so then finally, after getting, doing what I love, working with people that I love, making a great contribution, getting compensated appropriately, then having plenty of time left over for my other passions and my family. And maybe even the company enjoys seeing what I do with my time, my other passions. So how is that working for you?
Yeah, I got to say, during this time of the last couple of years specifically, and adjusting to whatever the new normal 3.0 or 4.0 is,
Yeah.
we have positioned ourselves as the expert video guides. You need to be the hero and go create that next amazing video. Well, you come here and we solve that. We've done it. 10 years, 1,000+ videos. But in the last couple of years, you couldn't do live action footage, which leads me into the EOS relationship here. Is we kind of outsold what we could deliver at the time. We were growing 400%. And all of a sudden, you're at home and the stakes have all changed. And how do you build something that scales just as rapidly as your business does and your brand does after all this time, but still do it in a concise way that's fun for everyone? That embraces the entrepreneurial spirit and the freedom that people get to basically just live their lives the way they want to. That's true empowerment, and it takes a lot of trust. But through all of this progress, I got to say the EOS model was the absolute best fit to embrace those values. People in their seats get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it. They share the same energy that I do, the same passion, the same vision for success when creating content that matters. We've had the wonderful opportunity to explain over 1,000 plus different video concepts for businesses, for products, for healthcare services, you name it. You've seen our content around, is my point. And for whatever it is, we always want to touch on those core value pieces, not only for those businesses, but we want our brand values to come across that as well. We want the EOS life for everyone on our team. We want others to also embrace how that can create a structured environment that is also fun and embraces that freedom and trust all in one package. And it's really an amazing model that's helped us grow very quickly.
So how has this affected you personally, you and your family? Think of time before and think of where you are now.
As I take a second, if you go back 2 years ago, I was recruited to come to Explainify, and I was very used to driving almost 30,000 miles a year, putting in my time at work and then at home. And so being up until midnight or 2 a.m. was like, it was a celebrated thing. Look at me, I'm working hard. I'm, doing 60, 80 hours a week and I'm doing my time. And what I realized with, new kids in the world and becoming a dad is that some of those things don't always balance out as well as some people may have sold them to you. And so in the last couple of years, specifically now being home, those priorities adjusted. And so even a year ago, I was still doing up to 80 hours a week. If anyone in the audience can relate to that, it comes with a lot of sacrifice. And I got to say, now that I come and look at this point today, I'm not doing that anymore. And it's not a celebrated thing, especially at Explainify. If you're doing that, then something else is wrong and we need to fix it. And I had the wrong mindset. That was celebrated maybe just, from, carry on over time. If you put in the work, you're going to be successful. And that is true to a certain degree, but there's a better, more efficient way to work. There is a better vision for you, especially from the EOS core values. And what we're trying to do and implement that across our brand is there has got to be an excitement around not working more than 40, 50 hours a week. That has to be a celebrated thing. Just working yourself into the ground is not the point. You have to have time to step away from working inside the business and work on the business, as one of my wife's friends has told me. So I really got to say, having that freedom to think and process and then walk outside my door on a coffee break and hug my kid, that's what's important. That's what I think is truly amazing. That's what's inspiring me to get even more work done in fewer hours. It makes me a better dad, makes me a better leader at work, and it makes me just feel like I've got a lot less weight on my shoulders. So after implementing EOS over the past year, we continue to grow. It has onboarded our team members in a much more effective way, and then also shows them that burnout is not a celebrated award winning opportunity here. We don't do that. So we work
Yeah.
to openly communicate and create transparency and trust across each department, and that has completely desiloed the whole organization, and it's just one team. So our little Explain-A-Fam is really where it's at right now, and it feels good to be here.
You're doing the things that you love doing,
That's right.
and I know from working with you that you guys really love each other. You enjoy being with each other, and that you can see. Well, describe for me how you see what you're doing is making the world a better place.
There's so many different videos that we've done. And I gotta say, the ones that are about revenue generation campaigns, those are always fun. But the ones that come to us with the heartfelt mission, how do we get the word out to the world? This is going to be on a TV commercial. This is going to be put out, to a million plus viewers. How do we demonstrate to a community the value we have by investing in those areas? Those types of campaigns with really large logos like Tyson, American Red Cross, those are the most fun for me because you know that there are people out there who are getting a lot of information, and we take all that complicated stuff and make it really simple and approachable because animation is timeless and it's ageless. So you can very quickly create evergreen content, explain concepts that are outside of just trying to sell somebody something. And I think that's the true differentiator as the expert video guys here as Explainify is you can go anywhere and buy an explainer video. Yeah, but that's not a strategy. And that's what's really important to hear is when we deliver on that process, like we're really going through the whole team's branding deck. We're working with every major player in every department to bring the story to life, and that content lives on for years. So it's not even just about the one dish out campaign. Those are fun, but really creating that resounding messaging and branding that's used for years to come, that's the truly exciting part for me.
And I'll be willing to bet that every time you do one, you learn how to do it better.
The creative process by default is a messy game. And I don't just mean in terms of trying to come up with the right copyright or the
Yeah,
visuals or the
yeah,
wording or the cadence or the music or the voiceover. Oh my goodness, we could spend all day
yeah,
on those fun. And they're
yeah,
fun topics, by the way. But there's a
yeah.
50% science to doing this. The science from the data after all this time, again, our 10 years of this, right? It's our 10-year anniversary. You need videos. You want to build awareness, education, and revenue generation campaigns? You need videos. They need to be short form videos right now to support your pillar content. But on the back end, how you do it, the branding of it, that part's never figured out. And that's where we bring the team in to imagine that vision with you and then bring that story to life because then we build off of it from there. So every time we go through a new creative process, and put that first stake in the ground with the client, they come back for years to come. People go on to other jobs and graduate and go and get promotions because they made such a great video and then come back and repeat the same success, but it's never the same journey. And that's what's
Yeah,
important is that the science says, yeah, we've done these types of videos, but how we're going to do it for you hasn't been done. And we're going
yeah.
to go do this together. And that's going to be a very critical piece to your success in the future. And all your videos will match after that. So the point is that if you continue to make content on a regular basis that's genuine, insightful, and helpful and is on brand, you're already going into the 1% category of
Yeah.
differentiating yourself amongst others.
All right. So that's how you are. That's how you're making a contribution. And
That's
now
good.
I'm, you know how, if you're not being paid appropriately right now, you know how to get the compensation you want, right?
That's right. And I got to go for the team too on this one is that, when you figure out those levels of the right level of compensation for each person, you really start to, realize that money is less important than time for some people. And as long as there's enough money
Right.
there and they have the freedom and flexibility and the trust that they're going to be a professional, then the rest of it goes
Uh-huh.
away. And it hits a nice harmony.
Well, and it's a matter of if you want more money, let's figure out how to bring more
Yes.
value,
Would you like to make $1 million? Great. I
right?
need you to do X,
Let's
Y, Z. And maybe that's a conversation.
yeah, let's figure out
Go
how to
ahead
do
and ask
that. Let's
for it.
work together, figure it out. Right? I mean, it's that whole notion of that response that an owner or a leadership team or a manager makes when somebody says, "I'd like to get more money." It's the change from, "Oh my gosh, how do I stop this?" to, "I want you to make as much money as you
That's
want.
good. That's well worded.
Let's figure out how to make that happen." Oh, what a difference. And now, and then finally, time for your other passions. You've talked
That's
about
right.
your kids. What other passions do you have? How do you spend time that you're not working? Uh, your family's happy. What other things do you do?
I would tell you that I'd be working out, but I haven't turned on my New Year's resolution from 2020 still, so I'm a little behind in that department. But I do I love, besides hanging out with the kids, I do love, art and drawing and, building things. I gotta say I have that creative side to me, and watching me do a couple things myself, my daughter's now taking on some of those activities, which is awesome.
Yeah,
But I also love to, coach.
nice.
I love to coach football specifically. It's wonderful. I take that same type of
Uh,
mentality into the business, so I wanna get better, but I want the whole team to get better too, and it's a team effort. So I got to say, it's given me the chance to mentor other people at this stage in the game, and that's been a hobby I've been developing in the last couple years. I've had so many people looking out for me, and I feel like it's time for me to start giving back where I can too. So I got a couple mentorships in place where I'm helping other young adults looking up to me and going saying, "Hey, you've been coming around on this next wave, and you've been trained, so share some of that." And that's what I've been doing, and that's
yeah,
really challenged me to be on top of
nice.
my game and then look at things from new
Yeah.
perspectives. But it's been a really fun growth stage in the last couple of years to help push myself even further with programs like that as like a coach.
Well, that's what this is all about. Is all those five things. When you can hit on all five cylinders, that's just wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
wonderful.
do an
Now,
email at midnight. Nobody gets awards for that. Can you close a couple things here and there?
no,
Yeah, maybe, but that shouldn't be the celebrated thing. You should be taking that time to yourself. And
no,
there's ways
right?
to do things. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the strategy that your leadership team has for taking this. this EOS Life all the way through the organization. What sorts of things are you doing? I know we can roll out EOS as a how to make business work, but this why of the EOS Life, this is the why somebody would be in business, why somebody would stay with a company. How are you rolling that out to everybody in the organization?
That's an excellent question because it really comes from the top down, as a lot of people have said, not a new innovative thought. But the example starts with me, and I'll just tell you the mistakes that I used to make is supposed to be on a week long vacation, and then I am working on Slack, and you see me in the channels, and it's just maybe bad behaviors from a old time, just trying to hustle, work hard, not mean anything bad.
Yeah.
But really, like, that's not a good example from the top. So I've had to check myself as the first step. And I've gotten feedback on those things is like when you're on vacation and you're responding to emails, you tell everyone else as the boss that that's what you expect of them, whether you mean it or not. So I've had to take a couple steps back. I've been joked with, that I'm a control freak, and I'll accept that to a certain degree. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to inspire when I have you on my Zoom calls. I put all my energy into those couple minutes that I have, but really after that, I'm trying to give the breather. So when we show up and we implement EOS and use it in our everyday lives now, every week we have our reporting meetings. We go through departmental meetings. We have associated one on ones with direct reports, and they're all meant to be quick and snappy, but also keep enough room and flexibility inside the meeting to keep it fun and remind all of us that, we're all working towards the same thing together. So when it gets in there, we have the opportunity to give each other kudos, highlight other team members' performance and success where they went above and beyond,
Yeah.
celebrate people's personal projects at home or major milestones in their own life, trying to pursue other different passions and hobbies. There is room built into those meetings for that time to share with one another. Something that we also did to go above and beyond was having a virtual all hands every Monday. Show up. It's a wonderful thing that we have. We've got a perfect amount of people to do this. It's kind of like Hollywood Squares, but we go down the list and everyone shares something that's going on in their life and, just help us relate. And so we have 3, 4 different
Uh-huh.
time zones logging into this meeting, and we're all sharing these
Uh-huh.
unique experiences from different locations across the United States and sometimes other places when people are traveling because that's the
Yeah.
flexibility we have. So it's really exciting. It's just like there's the structure, there's the 50% science of exactly how to run the meetings and everything, but we've also
Uh-huh.
kind of manufactured it with our own feng shui and art form and branding behind it as to how we
Right.
fuse
Yeah.
Explainify's core values into that program. So EOS has made it really easy every week to show up and discuss reporting, but it's actually created even more time and space to work collaboratively across different departments in shorter form communications because we're already in sync across different time zones. That's where I
Yeah.
feel like coming from the top down, like we're helping set the example of what we want, and it's getting done through this reporting process.
Well, and then everybody is coming to understand exactly where the company's going and how it's going to get there, right?
That's right. Here are our goals. We look at it every week. Here are the tasks, trying to knock major tasks off the week that chip at those different quarterly rocks.
Mhm.
Really just trying to make it simple. It's like, hey, if we're going to go be at, this next mountaintop, here are a couple things that we got to go focus on this next quarter. And I'll add that one of my favorite things that I didn't used to do is that I was traditionally in the sense that you look at data after a month, after a quarter. And what the EOS
Right.
system is forcing us to do is look at it every week. And that was something
Yeah.
that I had to adjust to at first that was a little uncomfortable. Not that I didn't
Uh-huh.
move fast, but it was just a different way to look at data because sometimes you do something and it might take a couple weeks for it to kick in from a sales and marketing perspective. But learning how to work at that type of cadence has actually brought all of us on board and created even
Right.
more transparency with the data flowing. So there's no, oh, I didn't
Yeah.
understand that piece or I didn't know where to look for that. There's one place to
Yeah.
look and the entire business is right there in a couple rows of a
Yeah.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, and I mean, and the difference, adding leading indicators to all the lagging indicators.
Yes.
Now, this is what happened last month, and the leading indicators are we know where we want it to go next month, and we know what steps we have to measure along the way. And if those are all happening, then it'll happen.
Yes, and that's probably one of my favorite parts too is I used to look at 50 different data points. Now I look at
Yeah,
15, 12, I mean it kind of depends
yeah,
how you want to slice and dice. Okay, some things change
right,
a little.
right.
But yeah, over time I got to say we really simplified what was important to the business. So if I was on an island And I got a list of things that weren't going right and what was going to make me fly home if it wasn't going right. We picked
There you
those
go.
things to
There
put
you
up
go.
on the board, and they all
Yeah.
happen to be more of the
Yeah.
upfront stats that you would see so you can make a decision faster and respond instead of having to
Uh-huh.
react after a month or a quarter and say, okay, well, let's go try this. The goal is to really take something that might take 6 months traditionally somewhere else and do it in 6 weeks, if not 6 days. And if we can do that, then
Yeah.
that type of cadence for growing rapidly in a safe, constructive manner will be much more methodical throughout that entire process with way less bumps in between. I'll tell you that.
Right. Right. Well, that's right. Well, now, a tough thing. One of the tough things for a lot of owners is how to deal with compensation. So, how are you how are you helping people to move from the "Mother, may I, please may I have some more" mentality to uh, a joint, kind of a joint discernment of what kind of value am I bringing right now, and what kind of compensation, and if I want this kind of compensation, how do you move that mental picture? What are you doing to move that mental picture into employees?
Yeah, that I'll say used to be a tougher question. But I'm going to double back to the whole pandemic bubble and how it's brought
Hmm.
up different issues and how we would value our time versus money and the balance of our lives. In very short essence, again, I'm using myself as the example. I used to drive almost 30,000 miles a year. I didn't tell the insurance companies that, so please don't tattle on me if you're listening. But in serious, I had to rotate a couple cars there. And it was a lot, a couple times I maybe got a little snoozy on the way home, just, exhausted, just like many other people. Okay, so I'm not the only one. I'm just saying I was a part of that myself. I actually found it a lot more valuable to me to take a small pay cut at the time to come join Explainify. Not to share too much. I'm just saying it was like I needed something different, and that gave me an opportunity to come here and also share that type of value with other people. And so we've actually, just from an Explainify standpoint, we took market rates, we adjusted, we had ranges, and it was very traditional from that standpoint. So for owners out there, you got to go look up the salary information of what's reasonable for those different locations. But now with the, let's just say adaptation of more remote work life out there in the world, that certainly comes with like, let's just say a little wiggle room for negotiations and people and what they need for their lives. If they want to go drop off their kids at school on a couple days a week or whatever else we need to do, then they just don't take meetings during that time. But that comes as a form of value. These people are professionals and they're selling their services to Explainify for us. So we want to invest back in them wherever we can to make sure that they're satisfied and that they're happy. So it starts with the core values and the culture of the company for sure. How we communicate with one another, how we treat one another, how we support one another when maybe a customer doesn't agree. It's always benefit of the doubt to the team first. And that's a big value piece that you can't put into a compensation number. There are places you can go and make 6, 7 figures a year, great. And you're going to trade a lot to get that. We're asking people not to trade so much, but really invest themselves too into this lifestyle. So the EOS is a great, let's just say, benchmark for associating that balance in your lifestyle. But then how you go do it and how you celebrate with your team members here at Explainify, it's supposed to be team effort all the time. There's a lot of value in that and the benefits that come with that too. And of course, there's like healthcare benefits and a 401k package. All those have a lot more value than we ever could have thought before. Maybe
Right.
people were willing
Right.
to trade off for those things, but not today. So a fair
Yeah.
compensation package for the area, understanding flexibility in life with remote work, creating an environment and relationships remotely across all these team members, that's worth its weight in gold. And people
Yep.
will sit, will
Right.
you'll find people mostly aren't arguing too much about a couple bucks here and there or a couple grand here and there when they realize that they have control of their life again.
Right. I was talking to a fellow this morning, and he said that one of his employees had been offered a $50,000 uh, gift
Whoa.
to move to another company, and it occurred to me that if somebody's paying somebody $50,000 to make a move, they're going to expect something on the other side.
Oh yeah.
And I said to him, I said, "Watch 6 months from now. Let's see if that fella still thinks that there's a value there." But everybody's trying different things, but I really think that this whole notion of being compensated appropriately, it's relative to the value that you're bringing to the organization. As your value goes up, then obviously you can request and work out a way to get more compensation. At the same time, the company paying attention and asking you to pay attention to what are you doing with your time?
Yeah.
What are the
Yeah.
other passions that you have? How are you dealing with your family, and how can we support you? With time requirements, how you're working, things like that. I think that's a big, huge shift. Now, let me ask you. We're predicting that there's going to be 100,000 companies running on EOS by 2030, and that's what is that? That's like 8 years from now,
Yeah, it
and
sounds
and
about right.
so right, and so when we just we average of 50 employees per company, that's 5 million people. What do you think the impact is going to be when we have 5 million people who are only doing what they love doing with people that they love, making a great contribution, getting compensated appropriately, and spending lots of time, plenty of time with their other passions and their families? What do you think that's going to be like?
When you're looking at besides the geopolitical state of the world at this current time frame, just the expansion of how borders have become kind of meaningless working across different international regions, I think it's very clear to me that at this point, over the next 5 to 10 years, very specifically, people will be embracing a new form of work, a new way to carry on and mature what we've just been through in the last couple of years. Many people are new to remote work. I fortunately have had many years of it before this, so I've been prepped and ready for a long time. Not that I thought I would need it so much, but it has changed my life. And what I think is going to happen is that as new generations rise up and come into these new management forums with these different requirements than what it was 20 or 30 years ago, technology has advanced that quickly. We're going to see how people like communicate with each other across borders and regions, just like we have on a whole nother level. And I don't just mean metaverse and Web 3.0 and all these fancy crypto terms and all that stuff. I'm just messing around out there. But in all seriousness, there's going to be a different level of expectation and say, this is how we do things now. Technology has evolved us to this at this point. So the most exciting developments are occurring right now. We just had another great resignation period. I don't know if it's still going on, but it sure has just been kind of lagging around, and people are
Yeah.
just kind of throwing their hands up saying, I'm done with this. It's not worth
Hmm.
it. What's the
Hmm.
point? I'm a zombie. I like to call them zombies. Like I just get up, I smile on this camera, I do some things, and you treat me, like trash. Maybe I'm done with that. I want to find a
Right.
place that I feel like I can align with the core values and brands. Branding and culture will mean more in the next decade than it ever has before. If every employee used to be interchangeable, now every employer will be interchangeable
That's
unless you
right.
find a
That's
way
right.
to put your stake in the ground right now.
That's right. Employees are not assets. They
That's
are
right.
human beings.
I always like to say you can replace a job, but you can't replace that person. That
That's
person
right.
makes it that person, good and bad. But I'm just
That's
saying there's
right.
pros and cons to it. And getting those right people and really committing to them and really investing in them, that's going to be the difference maker. Because the biggest
Yeah.
number one killer in the next decade is going to be turnover. Right there, the knowledge
Yeah.
loss with that, the attrition, not only of accounts and revenue and people turn over or go into competitors, but the people who know how your business works, the
Yep.
relationships that they have defined with other people, especially during this time, they're going to matter now more than ever, and
Right.
especially as we grow into the next couple years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they are not, if they are not being fulfilled by being part of the movement that's called your business, right?
That's
They're
right.
not being fulfilled by being part of the movement that's called your business. They're going to find someplace else.
That's right. And unfortunately, there are some people who don't mind just logging in and doing their thing and then signing out, and that is just fine. There's a great place for that too. But I'm just saying the big wave, the energy, the momentum that you're seeing right now is coming from these people realizing in this self-actualization state of being in their bubble for 2 years, going, what am I doing? I see my friends and my family. They're traveling and working remotely, and then here I am just doing the same old thing and not being compensated appropriately, not given the flexibility, treated like I'm a
Right,
child when I'm a true professional.
right,
That's the
right.
difference you see right now. Those are the
Yeah,
people putting their hands up and signing out permanently and ghosting
yeah.
you
I
because
I
they're
I
done.
heard a fellow this morning saying, "Well, these people who are working with, I mean, we got to be good parents for them. I mean, they're really, they look to us as parents." And I said, "I think you've got the wrong metaphor. That is a pre-COVID metaphor, and it's not going to work in the post-COVID times." People are saying, "Look, I grew up. I took care of myself. I fed myself. I found other sources of revenue when your revenue didn't support me. I took care of my family. We did it. I am not going back to being treated like a child. I am an adult. I'd be happy to work with you on a common set of goals, but don't just sit there and tell me what to do."
That's perfectly worded. And there have even been situations too where lots of companies have tried to approach just new challenges today with thoughts from a couple years ago. Because that's how the way it was always done, by throwing more people at it, or managing people a certain way. But after this time, if you haven't noticed, that tension in the air had to do with that type of environment. So if you trust
Mhm.
someone, you compensate them appropriately, you give them what they need to function as a professional, then you tell them that it's in their hands to get it done. And that trust means everything because people do want to do a good job. I found from my experience that people are genuinely interested in trying really hard and trying to do a good job, at least from the professions that I've seen, when they're compensated appropriately and then treated like a professional. But if it's the
Right.
opposite, well, then yeah, you're not going to get what you want. Neither
Right.
side will. And I think that's the
That's
point.
right.
Yeah, that's the point. Is that, hey, I got a lot of talent. I'm really over this. I'm gonna go look somewhere else now. I could
Yep.
just go to LinkedIn, Indeed.com. How many hiring commercials can there be and advertisements? You seen any of those? Yeah.
Right.
And so I'll share a personal example too from Explainify. Is I think the EOS model has really helped with us branding ourselves and getting us in the right spot. But a year ago, when we were growing quickly at a state of point, we put out a couple job applications. We had 4 applicants, 4 over 6 weeks. At a time where we needed to hire people like very quickly. Now, fast forward, we had 600 applications in 4 days, and we had to shut it down. So I'm just saying, with the new team members that we've hired, the night and day difference from a year ago, working 80 hours a week, burning myself out, right? I don't get all the credit. Credit goes to the team for growing it, but I'm just saying I was in the wrong space mentally, thinking I was doing. Did I do the things that needed to be done? Yes, pat on the back, but that wasn't the point of why we have this opportunity. And so for the
Right.
people coming in, I shared that story. I shared those visions and I said, now it's on you. Here are the goals. Here's what I want to see get done. There's the business results side, but here's what I promise in return. And if you ever
Right. Yeah.
see me showing up without a cup of coffee, or not just as excited as I am right now, then something is wrong. Something is
Right.
definitely
Yeah.
wrong. But I try to share the
Right.
same enthusiasm and then let people go. I got a strong personality. I get it, but they don't need to hear me barking at them all day. They're like, all right, I got you. I'm gonna go get some work done, and then I will talk to you the next week. And I know where to
Right.
find
Yeah.
you if I need you. That type of
Right.
environment, I can't walk down the hall, so I got to know. They got to know that we're all right there together. We're all paddling upstream together is the point.
Right. Yeah. We're all rowing in the same direction. That's wonderful. That's
That's right.
wonderful. Eric, Derek. This has been really a great help, and I think the more we can talk about this with folks as we move toward that 100,000, as we move this significant change in the way that people employ people, the way they treat people, the way that people are employed, the way that they begin to understand this new paradigm. I mean, it is a new paradigm. And as we move toward that, we've got all these great tools here to support us. And it's not it's not a well, we'll do this as long as we can't do what we used to do, because there is no new normal. It's a new opportunity every day.
That's beautiful. It is a new opportunity. Technology has forced us to adapt once again, which is where typically humans go. So whatever happens in the next couple years, there will be some new technology advancement that it takes us even further
Absolutely.
down these roads. So it's about
Yeah.
embracing the change now, but implementing a proven system like EOS makes it easier to adapt to those changes. There's still the
Yeah.
science of running your business. There will be balance. You will have buy-in. You will have very proud employees on the back end. How you go do it after that? Well, that's the fun part of business. There's no
That's
guarantees.
right.
That's why you call
That's
guys
right.
like Will to go get it done. Because when there's a will, there's a way.
Right. And I have to say, there are other great systems for running businesses. EOS is not the only one.
That's
It
right.
is one. And EOS is not is not rocket science. It's not secret. There's no secret sauce to it. It's really just pulling together the things that have worked for 100 years, and they're going to work for another 1,000 years, and we have a system for implementing it.
That's right.
And my plea is pay attention as talking to business owners, pay attention to the people you're working with. They're no longer your employees, they're really your fellow team members,
That's
and
right.
helping them to become strong team members, participating in all the things that are happening outside your business, inside your business, seeing them as fellow team members on this journey together. There's other places that can help you do that. EOS is one. I happen to think it's pretty good, but find a way to make it work in this, because we're all depending upon business leaders to make that transformation along with us.
That's right. And, I mean, there are lots of great systems and books and ideas, and you should never stop reading or studying them. I just think that
Yeah.
EOS has been the best culmination of all those, of the most common sense principles that get traction today without me having to
Mhm.
take months or years to implement. It's something that you could do right now. And it is,
Right.
oh my gosh, it's the most cutting edge innovation. Actually, no, it's the most common sense thing that's probably what's missing from your business. In
That's
most
right.
small,
That's
medium
right.
sized businesses, as I found as
That's
a
right.
consultant over the last couple of years, the basics of business 101 are sometimes missing, and you just don't know it because you're just in it every day. You don't have that moment to work on the business to see that small little hole that you've been missing for a couple years. And that's the
Right.
beautiful part of the
Right.
EOS model is get the simple things out of the way so you have that science part, you got the reportable data, but then that gives you a chance to figure out how you're going to go approach those goals once you set it up through
Right.
EOS.
Well, this has been fun, Derek. This has been fun. What
Always
would you
fun.
like to tell folks? What would you like to tell folks in closing? What would you like to encourage people to do for you, for Explainify, for the rest of the country?
Yeah, right now here at Explainify from that side of things, we think it's wrong that it's hard to generate leads and get more attention and build better educational content series. And that's why we've made it easy. So if you need explainer videos that get the job done, doing it for 10 years, 1,000+ videos, we'll build that game plan with you. Just head to our website, schedule a call, and then we'll take you through that process. And then in a couple of weeks, you'll have videos to share with the world that'll last for years. But from the personal side, I hope that everyone continues to look forward, towards the technology innovations that'll be coming in the next few years and how we work together. I've learned a lot about myself. All right, I'm not just talking about EOS and Explainify, but how we all continue to grow and engage each other in our lives during this remote work period, and maybe transitioning back here too in the next couple of years. If you think of the next 5 or 10 years, a lot of things can change. So continue to work on like what's valuable in your life, right? Find that balance. Don't celebrate yourself for working 80 hours a week. Is there a place and time for it? Maybe, perhaps, but don't sacrifice too much along that process. But I just got to say, I mean well for you. I hope you go and kill it. If you never, never, ever need inspiration, we've got plenty of energy over here for you at Explainify. But I also love to help you too if you need it. So I'm open to connect and just have fun business conversations along the way. I want to give more than I take.
Excellent. Well, this has been wonderful. This has been wonderful. And it's just another example of how we are thriving in this post COVID world. And we're moving into a huge transformation of how we treat each other, and how we do business, and how we live. So thanks for being with us. And remember, where there's a will, there's a way.